In the case of data interpretation, they will provide you a chart, or else you can start data, and you'll have to interpret those data. Let it be any kind of chart, the kind of questions will almost be same every time, whether it's a line graph, bar graph, pie chart, tables, any kind of format is there, the kind of questions will always be same. So let's see, if we'll go through these, this is nothing but a line graph. So this one is a line graph available here. This one is considered as normal bar graph. Then this one is nothing but a pie chart. This basically reflects table, and the last case is nothing but the caselet part. So caselets is nothing but the body part, where instead of a chart, they will provide you the information in terms of a story or else in terms of language there. So that's the only difference. Let it be any kind of chart, the kind of questions will be almost same. Now, let's talk about the line graph for the timing. Let's try to understand line graph here. I have a line graph available here. Let's peep on this. So if you'll see, this is a line graph available. I have three series available. I have series 1, which is represented by blue color here. Then series 2 is we can say orange, and series 3 is gray color here. With categories, list of categories, let's write EO for the time being so that we can identify. Suppose it's 2001, 2002, 2003, and 2004. So assuming if I'm talking about series 1 in this case, let's consider this is nothing but a cell of TV sets from a particular shop. So consider this. If you'll see this figure, if you'll see here, it's somewhere around 4.2. So let's assume that 4.2 units of TV sets sold in the year 2001 from a particular shop. So it can be in terms of, or else let's do one thing, let's write this one in terms of hundreds. It's in terms of hundreds here, right? So that means I can say 42 or 4.2 into 100, hundreds, let's consider. So 420 TV sets were sold from a particular shop in the year 2001. Now, same way, if we'll consider 2002, you can identify it's almost 2.5. So this figure is 2.5. Also, let's consider 250 TV sets were sold. In the year 2003, if we'll consider, I'll just mark this thing, you can identify this part. This part will represent the number of TV sets sold in the year 2003. So now here, if we'll check, this figure will be how much? It's like about 3.5. Also, we can say 350 TV sets were sold here. And similarly, the last year, 2004, let's consider, this figure will be somewhere around how much? If we'll consider this one, it will be somewhere around 450 or else 4.5 in this case. So these are the data available here. So we have represented the data in terms of a line graph here. But if we'll check the next one, the bar graph, the same thing is represented in terms of a bar graph here. So I can say, if you'll see this blue bar available here for category 1, also let's mark this one as 2001. Now you can identify this figure reflects almost 4.2. So instead of using lines, now I'm using bar, or else I can say here, instead of using this line, I have used a bar here of blue color. That is represented here in this case. So the same information can be represented in terms of some other graph itself. Let it be bar graph, line graph, any kind of graph here. Now you can identify next year also if you take 2002. So if I'm taking 2002 in this case, just identify if I take 2002 here. So if I have taken 2002, we have already seen in the year 2002, the value was 2.5 here. Now you can identify this is approximately 2.5. This is 2.5 in this case, right? Next year we have seen this was nothing but somewhere around 3.5. Now you can identify this figure reflects 3.5, and this one is nothing but 4.5 in this case, right? So now the point is they will have a set of information which they can frame in different type of charts. It can be a line graph, it can be a bar graph, Now same thing, if I want to represent in terms of a table, I would have written the values here in terms of years. Now it's nothing but category 1. Let's consider category 1 here, and years 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. And here I would have taken the value as the first figure was nothing but 4.2. So this would be 4.2 here. Then again it's saying but 2.5, then saying but 3.5, and this is 4.5. Now you can identify the same bar graph or else line graph is represented in terms of a table, right? So I can represent any kind of information in terms of line graph, bar graph, not exactly pie chart, tables, or sometimes in terms of case lists. So in the case of case lists, they will give you some information in terms of WODI variation, like in the year 2001, the sale of TV sets was 4.2 units. Next year, it is something else. So instead of information in terms of a graph, that will be in terms of a literature kind of thing. So let it be any kind of graph, the kind of questions will almost be same. We'll discuss about the kind of questions, but let's talk about pie chart. Now pie chart is a chart which is slightly different from these charts. Pie chart is a chart which is slightly different from these charts. Now why it's slightly different? Because if it's a pie, we know that the overall angle will be nothing but 360 degree. And if it's a pie chart, I can say this overall value is equivalent to 100%. In fact, pie chart is the only chart where we can be sure that the overall value is always 100%. There is no other chart in which you can be sure that the value is overall 100%. Like here, if you'll see, I have these 4 categories available here. Category 1, category 2, category 3, and category 4. So I have set of TV sets available here. But am I sure that I have only these 4 categories available? I can have further other categories available. So if they would have given you the others here, then I can say that I'm using the 100% of the data available. But since there is nothing like others available here, I cannot be sure that I'm using 100% of the data. Suppose if I'll take a condition that I have gone to a shop to purchase a mobile phone. So I have, let's say the shopkeeper have said we have 20 units of Samsung phone, 30 units of Apple available, then 20 units of Oppo is there, and Redmi is, let's say 25 units available. So he has given me some information, but what about the other set of mobile phones, other company mobile phones? Is it available there in the store or not? We are not sure about this. So I cannot say that the shopkeeper has given me 100% of the data, right? So I can have some other mobile phone sets available there. So I cannot be sure that if I have a line graph or else a bar graph, they have provided me the 100% data. If they will provide this information, I have one more line which represents other, or else category which represents other here, or else not category here, let's say years here, and they had given you one more line here which represents other here, then only I can say that they have provided me the 100% data, or else they have not provided me the 100% data. Same thing is applicable here. If they would have provided me some more data here, like they would have provided me one more graph here, and that represents other, then only I can say they have provided me 100% data, right? So these are the charts where I'm not sure whether they have provided me 100% of the data or not. But pie chart is the only chart where they will have to provide me the 100% of the data, because see, the point is here I do not have a limit. I can take one more block or else beside this block here, and that will represent something else. But if a pie chart is there, it's a circle here. So I have to adjust everything in that pie only. That's why it is considered that I'm using 100% of the data here. So that means, suppose if they're talking about category A here, suppose this is Samsung here, this is Apple here, this is Redmi here, and they will use others here, then I am definitely sure that they have provided me the 100% data, right? So pie chart is the only case where they have to provide me 100% data, because I'm using the overall 360 degree, which is fixed. But if we'll take these lengths here, these can go up to infinity. So that means I cannot provide you the 100% data unless until I will use the word others there. I cannot provide you the 100% data there. So I can say pie chart is the only chart where they are providing me 100% data. There is no other chart in which they will provide you the 100% data. Now you can just identify that this 360 degree here should be equal to 100%, as the overall value is 360 degree and the overall data is nothing but 100% data available here. So I can say 360 degree is nothing but 100%. So I should have an additional information that 1% will always be equivalent to 3.6 degree. This is an additional information which you need to keep in mind. In the case of pie chart, sometimes they provide you the information in terms of either degree or else percentage. You'll have to convert degrees in terms of percentage or else percentage in terms of degrees, so that it will be easy for us to work on, right? So sometimes they'll provide you two different charts. One will be in terms of degree, one will be in terms of percentage. I have to convert degree in terms of percentage or percentage in terms of degrees to solve the questions. Second important part here is sometimes they may ask the question related to the sector part. They may ask what is the fraction of sector available with respect to the complete data, or else find out the area of the sector. So there I'll be using the degree part. So that's why this is an additional information which you should keep in mind. So we have basically line graph. There can be a lot other kind of graphs also, but in your examinations it will be basically line graph, bar graph, pie chart and tables. These are the important one, and sometimes definitely they ask question related to case studies. So in case study you can also convert that in terms of line graph, bar graph, or else table, or else vice versa. Anything is possible there. So I can interchange each and every thing. Now let's talk about what kind of questions normally they ask with respect to data interpretation part. So here I have a graph available, and we'll try to discuss what kind of questions normally they ask with respect to graphs. So suppose I have a graph available, a bar graph available for anything. Suppose the number of TV sets sold here. Let's consider this is the data of number of TV sets sold from a particular shop in the year 2001 till 2007. So here we can identify that it's nothing but in the year 2001, altogether 200 units of TV sets were sold from a particular shop. Next year, this is nothing but 250 units were sold. Next year, it's nothing but 300 units were sold. Next year, it's 350 units were sold. Next year, it's 400 units were sold. Next year, 450 units were sold. And the last year, 7th year, 550 units were sold. Suppose these are the data available here. Now, the kind of questions will be common here. The first or the very common kind of question is percentage change. So percentage change would be nothing but either percentage increase or else percentage decrease. So if I'm talking percentage change, the formula is nothing but final minus initial divided by initial into 100. Also we can say percentage change is nothing but change with respect to initial value in terms of percentage, right? So that's basically percentage change here. Now suppose if I'll ask a question, what will be the percentage change in the year 2005? Can you tell me what is the percentage change in the year 2005? Yes, try to answer this thing. Can you tell me what is the percentage change in the year 2005? Think.
So 14.28.
How much?
14.28.
14.28%, right? So now if I'm talking about percentage change in this case, so I should have one final value and I should have one initial value. So if I'm talking about 2005, then this is my final value available. The initial value should be the value for the year 2004 here, right? So whenever they are talking about the percentage change, it is always with respect to the consecutive years. Unless until they will not specify anything else, you should always take the initial value as a previous consecutive year. Or else they will specify this thing that find out the percentage change the year 2005 with respect to year 2002. If they are not providing this information, that means I'm always dealing with the consecutive years. So you have to consider the consecutive years here. So my initial value according to this will be 350 and the final value will be nothing but 400. So I can take this one, it's nothing but 400 minus 350 divided by 350 into 100, or else that's equivalent to 50 out of 350 into 100, which is equal to 1 by 7. Now 1 by 7 is equal to 14.28%. So one of the important part which you need to keep in mind is the basic fractional values of the percentage, because maximum time we'll be dealing with the fractional values of the percentage. Like as we know that 1 is nothing but 100%, a complete value is 100%. Similarly, I can say half of anything is nothing but 50%. Also, we can say 1/3 of anything is always 33.33%. Similarly, I can say 1/4 of anything is nothing but 25%. 1/5 of anything is 20%. I can say 1 by 6 is nothing but 16.66%. Similarly, 1 by 7 is 14.28%. 1 by 8 is 12.5%. 1 by 9 is 11.11%. 1 by 10 is basically 10%. And normally 1 by 11 will be nothing but 9.09%. So you should keep in mind these values, because maximum calculations will be somehow somewhere based on these values itself, right? So suppose if I would have given you find out 27.27% of 1331. How much will be 27.27% of 1331? Can you tell me how much is 27.27% of 1331? It might be difficult for us to calculate these kind of things. There, these data are useful. Now, if you'll see 27.27% is somehow somewhere related to 9.09. That you will have to practice. So 27.27 is equal to 3 times of 9.09% of 1331 is the data available here. Now, how much is 9.09 in terms of fraction? We have seen 9.09 is equal to 1 by 11. So it's basically 3 times of 1 by 11 of 1331. Now, if we calculate this part, it's 121 or else 363. My overall value will be nothing but 363 here. Right. Correct, Amir? It's nothing but 363. Right. So that's why these data are important. You should keep in mind these data. So that's the first kind of format. Now, second format is nothing but percentage increase over the period. Percentage increase over the period, or else percentage change over the period. I'm using the term increase here because in this graph, we can see that there is always an increment with respect to the previous year, but it's not necessary that every time there will be an increase. It might show a decrease, it might show a increase there. So if I'm talking percentage increase over the period, since I am using the term percentage increase, that means I should have the same formula, that's nothing but final minus initial divided by initial into 100. But my data will change here. My data will be in the year 2007. This data will be considered final value here, and my initial value will be for the year 2001. I'm talking about the complete period in this case. I'm not bothered about the values in between. I'm just bothered about what was there in the first day and what is the value there in the last day. So first day or first year it's 200 and the last year is about 550. So I'll calculate the increase with respect to this. So this is the overall period available here. So I'll have the same formula, final minus initial divided by initial into 100, but my data will change here. My data value, my final value is nothing but 550. My initial value will be 200 divided by 200 into 100. That's nothing but 175%. So there is a slight difference between percentage change and the percentage change over the period. If they're talking about percentage change, it is with respect to the consecutive year. But if they're talking about percentage change or percentage increase over the period, I need not to bother about the values in between. My final value will be the value for the year 2007 here, and the initial value will be the value for the year 2001. I need not to bother about these values there, right? So I should not bother about these values. Third one is average percentage change. Average percentage change, or this is also considered as simple annual growth rate. So this data is also considered simple annual growth rate. Now, what do you mean by simple annual growth rate? It's the growth in terms of simpler format. It's not a complex format here. So it's a normal increment from one year to other year in this case. Or else now they're talking about the average percentage change here. So that will always be percentage increase or decrease over the period. Over the period here, divided by the total number of period available, total number of periods available. Now, what do you mean by the number of periods? See, number of periods are always one lesser than the number of years. My period would be from 2001 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and 6 to 7. These are the periods available. So you can identify, I have already the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 periods are there. So I should not divide the value by the number of years. I should always divide the value by the number of periods available, which is always one lesser than the number of years available there, right? So it's a very common mistake that people divide the value by the total number of years. I should always divide the value by the number of years. So that's the first mistake you need to keep in mind. I should always divide by the number of periods, not by the number of years here. So here it's 175 and the number of periods are nothing but 6 periods. So I can say approximately 30. Also we can say 29.16% will be the value possible in this case. It's 29.16. Or if you want to calculate, I know the nearest value is nothing but which is divided by 6 will be 180. So if we'll take 180 here, if we'll divide 180 by 6, I know basically it's 30 times. But 175 is how much? 5 lesser than this. So I have to remove 5 by 6 from this part 30. And we have seen 1 by 6 is nothing but 0.16. So I can remove that part here. I'll subtract this value 5 by 6 from this. So it should be remaining as 1 by 6. So 29.16 will be the value. So that's simple annual growth rate. Second common mistake, what people do, they find out the percentage increase here, then they'll find out the percentage increase here, then they'll find out the percentage increase here, here, and here. Then they will take the average of the given things. Do not do this thing. That's a very common mistake people also do. As the term is average percentage change. So if they are given the term as average percentage change, people might do this thing that they will find out the average of the percentage changes available here. But that's a term coined here. The actual term is simple annual growth rate, right? So that means they are talking about a growth rate from the beginning till end, and they have taken the average of the given values there. So that will be simple annual growth rate in these cases. So with the percentage part, we have these three basic variations. We have percentage change. We have a percentage increase over the period. Then the next is nothing but average percentage change or a simple annual growth rate. Is it clear? Is there any doubts in these? If there is no doubt, we'll move to the other set of informations. So we have talked about the percentage. Now the next basic variation is nothing but the average. So average is nothing but summation of the terms divided by the total number of terms. So summation divided by the total number of terms is nothing but the average part here. Now just see these data as I had given the data. It's 200 here, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450 and 550. Can you tell me what is the average of the given numbers? 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450 and 550. Can you please tell me what is the average of the given numbers? I have a basic formula, that's simple summation terms divided by the total number of terms. So if I go by the basic calculation here, let's go by the basic calculation first. So average will be the summation of these numbers. Whenever you're adding, obviously calculator is not allowed. So use some easy numbers first to add, like 200, 300 and 400. It's definitely easy for me to add these values. Just add these numbers for the time being. So addition is how much? 200, 300, 400. The summation is equal to 900 here. Then I'll use some easy numbers like 450, 550. It is easy for me to add these two. This will provide me the number as 1000 and the remaining is about 250 and 350 here. If we'll add these two, it's 600. Now if we'll add these figures, 1900 and 600, that means the overall is about 2500. I'll divide by 7 in this case. Now 2500 by 7, that's nothing but 357.14 will be the value here. So 357.14 will be the average in this case, right? So 357.14 will be the average in this case here. So that's a basic method to work on. But whenever you are dealing with the data interpretation part, you'll have to change the method to find out the average. Here we'll go by the other method, which is also considered as the basic surplus deficit method, in which you will assume your own average somewhere in between the numbers and you will correlate the values. Now, there are some good part about this. Suppose if I'll ask you randomly that out of the given number, which one can be the possible average of the given number. So what will be your answer in that case? The numbers are 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450 and 550. Forget about the calculation part. Just analyze the numbers. If I'll ask out of the given numbers, which one could be the possible average of the given numbers, then which number you will choose? Right.
So 350.
350? Right? So you'll definitely choose 350. Why? Because 350 is somewhere in the middle. Now when I have chosen 350 here, if I have chosen 350, then I know that my answer should be somewhere near to 350. But is it exactly 350? We're not sure about this. To cross check, what I'll do, I'll just compare the other values with 350 here. Like if we'll take this figure, 300 and this is 400. This is 50 lesser than 300. This is 50 more than 300. That means if I'll correlate these, I can cancel out these errors. These are nothing but the errors here. It's like a weighing machine. I have something as a surplus, I have something as a deficit, and I'm trying to balance it out. So if I have minus 50, I have plus 50, that means I have just balanced the thing, right? Similarly, if we'll take this figure, it's 100 lesser than 350. This figure is 100 more than 350. That means again, I can cancel out this error. I have just balanced it out. But if we take this one, this figure is 150 lesser than 350, but this part is 200 more than 350. That means I cannot balance it out here. So what I'll do in this case, I will just add up these two values. My figure is it's 200 more on one side, but 150 less on the other side. That means I still have 50 as an error. So overall, I have 50 as an error available, which I have to divide in 7 equal parts. I have to give it to each and every one in this case. So now my old average, which I have assumed here, was nothing but 350, but 350 will not be the actual average in this case. I have something as surplus or as a deficit. So how much is surplus in this case? 50 is the surplus part, which I have to divide this in 7 equal parts. So now I can identify 50 by 7. is nothing but approximately 7.14. Now I have assumed 350 as an average, and I still have something as an average surplus, that is 7.14 in this case. That's why my average is 357.14, right? So normally you'll be using these kind of methods when you're dealing with the data interpretation part. Maximum time when it was a paper-based format, now it's on online mode, but earlier it was a paper-based format. Normally they used to provide you the numbers above bar. Why? So that you can directly utilize these kind of methods to work on, right? So you can cancel out some values and you can directly find out the answer. Now, what are the benefits? The first benefit is definitely you can go through option and you can at least eliminate the options. Instead of adding all the values, you can definitely search for the middle value and you can find out that I can have a possible answers there, so that I can shorten my range and then I can work on the values there. Here, the numbers were easy, but suppose instead of this, I'll give you some more number. Just try to find out the average of the given numbers here. Let's say I'd given you 93, 152, 207, 243, 298. Let's try to find out what is the average of the given numbers. The last value is 298. Suppose I had given the terms as 93, 152, 207, 143, 198. What will be the average of the given numbers? How do you find out the average of the given numbers now? How much will be the average of the given numbers without using calculator? Okay. 903 by 5. That means how much? 903 by 5. Amia, how much? 198. Okay. Is it exactly 198? 198.6. Right. So 198.6, and if you take 903 by 5, it's how much? 180.6993. Okay, let's see. Okay, 198.6. Correct. So it has to be about 198.6. Now, what we are doing in this case, we are just adding the numbers there, right? So we are adding the numbers. I'm dividing it by 6. That's the basic approach we are applying here. But just identify this. If I'll ask you randomly, what should be your choice if you have to go by the options to find out the value? You will definitely go for the middle value and we'll try to correlate the values here. Now, middle value is nothing but 207 in this case, right? So you'll try to correlate the value with 207. But it's not necessary that you will have to correlate the value with 207 itself. You can choose your own number to work on these values. Now, why I'm choosing my own number here? Because I want to add or subtract. If I'll add these numbers itself here, it might be difficult for me to add these values, especially if you're not very much comfortable with addition or subtraction. It might be difficult for you to work on. So I have to choose a number in such a format with which it is easy for me to work on. So instead of 207, I'll choose 200. Now why I'm choosing 200 here? Because with these kind of numbers, multiples of hundreds, it's easy for me to find out the surplus or its deficit part. Like here, if it's 140, 243 is there, I can directly find out that my surplus part is 43. But if I'll work with 207 itself, unless I have to subtract 243 and 207, then I'll try to work on the value. It might be difficult for me to work on. Although these numbers are still easy, but suppose if they are the bigger numbers available, it might be difficult for me to work on. So what I'll do, I'll compare with 200. So I know that this figure is 7 more than 200. this figure is nothing but 43 more than 200, and this figure is 98 more than 300, right? At least I can find out these things. Here I can find out that this figure is 48 lesser than 200, and this figure is how much? 107 lesser than 200 here, right? At least I can mark these values. Now I can work on something like 43 and 7, it's plus 50, and it's nothing but minus 48. That means definitely plus 2 is there. 98 plus 2. So if you take this side, it's 100 as a surplus part, and this is about 107. That means I have a deficit as minus 7, which I have to divide this in 5 equal parts. So if you take minus 7 by 5, it's minus 1.4. So ideally I can say the assumed average was 200. From this I'm subtracting 1.4 as it's negative here. So if I'm subtracting this, the value is nothing but 198.6. So that will be the average here. Now why we are utilizing these kind of things? First thing is, obviously you can go by the normal calculation part, as you are very much comfortable with the normal calculation part. But the problem happens when you will be working under pressure. When you will be writing examination, it is very difficult for you to go by the basic calculation. There you have to utilize these kind of things. So you'll have to make a habit of calculating the values in these terms. Otherwise, if weird numbers will be there, with the pressure, it's very difficult for you to calculate those kind of values. So utilize these kind of things to work on. Sanjana, I'll just repeat the method again. So just identify what we are doing. We are just comparing the numbers with my own assumed number. Now identify this thing. Whenever you are talking about average, suppose the numbers given are 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450 and 550. Normally what we do, we add all the values, then we divide the value by 7. That's a basic thing. Why we are doing this? Because we are comparing the numbers from the origin itself. That means my milestone is 0. From there I'm comparing these numbers. So I can say 200 is 200 more than 0, and 250 is 250 more than 0, 300 is 300 more than 0, and this process continues. Then we add those. So I can say with respect to 0, this 200 is an error, 250 is an error, 300 is an error, and this process continues here. So we have added all the errors and divided by 7. That's why you got 357.14. But instead of this, if I will take something else as my base value and I'll compare the values, I should also get the same as an average here. I'll have something as a surplus part or something as a deficit part. Like in this case, when we have dealt with this part, I have taken 350 as my average here. I'm not sure whether 350 is my exact average or not, but at least I can compare the other values with this and I can find out the value, right? So it's the same thing. Suppose, let's say you have 350 rupees, you have two more friends, one has 300 rupees and one has 400 rupees in this case, and you want to find out how much is the average money you have altogether, right? So what you can do in this case, if I'll say everybody has 350 rupees, then only you can say the average will be 350. So what you will do, you will say this fellow to provide 50 rupees to this fellow. Then only I can say this person will have 350 rupees, this person will have 350 rupees, and this person will have 350 rupees. Then I can say the average number 350 here, right? So what I'm trying to do, if I have something extra available, I'll try to balance it out. I'm trying to give it to someone else so that I can balance the thing, right? My idea is to convert each and every value as 350 rupees. If I will be able to convert each and every value as 350 rupees, then my job is done. But if I'm not able to convert, I'll have something extra available. So I have to give each and every person that particular extra part, and then we'll work on the average there, right? So I can do that here, right? I'm coming to that one only, Sanjana. Now what I'm doing here, you have understood this thing, right? Okay, I have taken a particular number as an average. Now coming to this part, I'll just remove this again and I'll work on this. Now identify. Here I have these numbers available and I want to find out the average of the given value. So what we have done earlier, we have chosen something as an average there, right? We have chosen something as an average there and then we are trying to correlate the values. So what we have chosen as an average here, I had chosen 207 as an average, sorry, the middle value as an average here. So middle value is nothing but 207. But suppose if I'll compare the other value with 207, is it easy for you to calculate that? Definitely not easy, because you will compare each and every value there and then you will add the values or subtract the value and then you will try to find out something. The problem here is the numbers are weird. If the numbers would have been 200, 250, 300, 350, multiples of hundreds or 50s, it is definitely easy for me to work on. But if they are not the multiples, it's definitely difficult for me to work on there, right? So what I'll do, instead of 207, let's take another number, which is a multiple of 100, so that it is easy for me to compare the other values. Every time your job is to compare the other values with my own number here. So my own number I have chosen is nothing but 200. Let's try to compare the values with 200 in this case. Now, if I'll compare these numbers with 200, just compare these values. Now, if I'll compare 93 with 200, obviously I can find out that this is 107 lesser than 200, right? This figure, if we'll take 152, now I can identify that this is 48 less than 200. If we'll take this one, 207, it's nothing but 7 more than 200, right? Now I'm comparing with 200. Remember this thing. Now, if we'll take this part, 243, it's definitely 43 more than 200. And the last part here is nothing but it's 98 more than 200. I can work on some values here. Either add up the values directly or just identify. Can I say if we'll take this part is minus 100 directly. Take any conditions, right? It's minus 48 and it's plus 43. That means it's nothing but minus 5, right? And it's nothing but 98 plus 98 and this is minus 100. So if we'll compare these two, it's minus 2 available. How much is the overall error available now? Minus 2 and minus 5. That means the overall error is equal minus 7, right? That is the overall error. Now I have to divide this 7 in 5 equal parts. As I have 5 terms available, I'll divide by 5. So if we divide by 5 here, minus 7 by 5 is nothing but 1 minus 1.4 here. So what was my assumption? My assumption was nothing but 200 here. And from that I'm subtracting 1.4. So if I'll subtract 1.4 from this value, the remaining is nothing but 198.6. My average will be nothing but 198.6, right? So I'm just choosing my own number to correlate the values. Make sure that the number should be a multiple of hundreds or else 50s, so that it is easy for you to work on. And the second thing is it should be somewhere in the middle so that I can cancel out the values there, right? If we'll take a number from the beginning part, unnecessarily I'll have to add all the values. I cannot cancel out the values, or else if I'll take the value at the end, unnecessarily I'll have to eliminate the values there. The same numbers, suppose I'll take this one, 93, 152, 207, 243, 298. Instead of 200, suppose I'll take some other number. Suppose I have taken this part and the nearest value is nothing but 250 in this case, right? Suppose I'll compare with 250 here. Now identify how many times I'll have to correlate the values here. This will be 7 lesser than 250, right? Then this figure will be how much? It's about 48 more than 250. But the problem here is on this side. This side I have to compare a lot. This figure is nothing but 43 less than 250. This figure is 98 less than 250. And this figure will be how much? 157 7. Right. So 157 less than 250. Now identify. Here it is difficult for me to cancel out the values, right? Because maximum values are negative values. So I'll have to work on these values, then I have to work on. But let's check whether I'll get the same answer or not. That's an important part. So here, if we'll take these, suppose minus 43 minus 7 is minus 50. If we'll take this, it's minus 2. Minus 2 plus minus 98. So values are minus 157 minus 98 minus 2. That means even minus 257. I'll have to divide this in 5 equal parts. So let's see if we'll divide by 5. If we'll divide this in 5 equal parts. So 5 times 1 times 0.4. Now from, which is negative here, from 250, if we'll subtract minus 51.4, I'll also get the value as 198.667. So it does not make any difference. The only problem would be you'll have to calculate a bit more in this case. That's the only problem. That's why try to take the middle value somewhere in the middle so that you can cancel out the values at least in between and you can work on. So that's the case of average. So is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem. Right. So that was the average part. Now, next would be nothing but the ratio part. So the ratio is the basic comparison. Next kind of format is nothing but ratio here. Ratio is the basic comparison here. So normally ratios, the questions can be in the format finding out the least ratio possible, or else finding out the highest ratio possible, or arrange the values in ascending order or else descending order, right? Arrange the values in ascending order or descending order there, right? So these are the basic variations here which you need to keep in mind. But there are few things which you can also keep in mind here. Here the numbers are easy. 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450 and 550 are the numbers available. The numbers are easy. So it is very easy for you to calculate. But suppose instead of these numbers, if I would have given you, suppose instead of this, I would have given you the parameter as 97, then double of that, let's consider 194, and some other values would be there. It is very difficult for you to work on the ratios, or some more weird numbers are there. There you have to utilize these lines. These lines are always useful in these kind of cases. These are the lines which you need to keep in mind. So they always provide you these kind of lines. Why? So that you are not supposed to calculate. Just identify the format is data interpretation, not data calculation. If you're doing the calculation part, that means you're just doing the calculation part. You're not trying to analyze the data here. So here you can do one thing, you can always go by these lines. Suppose I want you to find out the ratio between 2007 and 2006. What is the ratio between 2007 and 2006 here? It's a very easy question. 2007 and 2006, it's a very easy question here. So here we have seen that according to the data, the figure available is nothing but 550 here, and this is 450. I can just calculate this part. That's nothing but 11 by 9. So the ratio is nothing but 11 by 9 in this case. But suppose if the numbers would have been weird, every time you cannot calculate. So what you can do is you can utilize these numbers here, these blocks here. So identify here how many blocks are available. See, this complete part is one block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 5.5. That means I'm using altogether 5.5 blocks. And for this part, I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, right? That's nothing but 4.5 block. Now I can find out the ratio. It's about 11 by 9. So utilize this when you have the weird numbers available. If weird numbers are there, do not go by the calculation part. If you try to calculate, it's definitely difficult to solve the data interpretation part. So utilize these kind of things, utilize the heights available. So to create this height, I have used altogether 5.5 blocks. To create this height, I have used altogether 4.5 blocks. In that case, the ratio is 5.5 blocks by 4.5 blocks, which is 11 by 9 in this case, right? So there, utilize these kind of things. Second thing, let's do one question. Arrange them in ascending order. Ascending order. The data in the year 2007 by 2006, 2006 by 2005, 2005 by 2004, 2004 by 2003. Just arrange them in ascending order. Let's see what is the arrangement. Two 2007 by 2006, 2006 by 2005, 2005 by 2004, 2004 by 2003. Yes, what's the arrangement? Okay, let's see. So here we have seen, I'll just use the blocks. So it's 5.5 blocks by 4.5, which was nothing but 11 by 9, which we already seen. Now 2006 and 2005. So if we'll take 2006 and 2005, it's 4.5 blocks and 4 blocks, right? So 4.5 by 4 blocks, which is nothing but 9 by 8. Next one, 2005 and 2004, it's 4 and 3.5. 4 and 3.5. That's nothing but 8 by 7. And the last one, if you'll consider this figure, 2004 and 2003, that's nothing but 3.5 blocks by 3. That's nothing but 7 by 6. Can you arrange them in ascending order? Can you tell me what is the order possible here? Is 11 by 9 greater or is 9 by 8 greater? Or is 8 by 7 greater or 7 by 6 greater here? Now just identify this. If I'm talking about 7 by 6 here, 7 by 6 can be written as 1 plus 1 by 6. And 1 by 6 is how much? 0.16. Also in terms of percentage, 16.66. That means this figure is approximately 1.16. So you can do the same thing here. If you take the 8 value 8 by 7, 8 by 7 is 1 plus 1 by 7. Now, 1 is a common part. Just identify this thing. 1 by 6 is greater or else 1 by 7 is greater. Obviously, 1 by 6 will be greater. If you'll go by the percentage, just identify 1 by 1 is 100. But if you'll take 1 by 2, that's nothing but 50. 1 by 3 is 33.33. That means if I'm increasing the denominator part, the value overall will be lesser. Or else we can say something but 1.14. Similarly, if you take the next one, 9 by 8 is equal to 1 plus 1 by 8 here. Obviously, if you take this, it's 1.125. And the last value if you take the last value here, that's nothing but 11 by 9. So 11 by 9 is nothing but 1 plus 2 by 9. So 1 by 9 is 0.11. So 2 by 9 is 0.22. That means it's about 1.22. Now you can identify which value is the least one. Least value is 7 by 6. So I can say 7 by 6 is the least value available. Sorry, not least. Least value is what? This figure, 1.125. That's nothing but 9 by 8 is lesser than next one is nothing but this part, 8 by 7, which is less than 7 by 6, which is lesser than 11 by 9. So that will be the order possible here. So that's a case of ratios. A lot of time you'll have to arrange the values in ascending order and descending order. So every time you cannot take the complete value. So just take the blocks, work on the blocks and find out the ratio possible. Okay, so we'll take a break of 5 minutes now. We'll again gather at 11:10 and then we'll work on the other remaining concepts. Let's take a break of 5 minutes now. Okay, so we'll move to the other concept now. So we have seen the basics of data interpretation with respect to the bar graph here. Let it be bar graph, pie, line graph, or else tables, or else case net. The kind of questions are almost same. But as we have seen, that if it's a pie chart, it can have some additional kind of questions where I have to convert degrees in terms of percentage, percentage in terms of degrees, or else related to the sector part. Now, whenever I have a pie chart available, definitely it's a boon. You will have to utilize those kind of things because there you have to go by the basic analysis. So suppose I have a pie chart available here. Obviously, they will not provide you a single pie chart. If it will be a double pie chart or else pie chart with some kind of tables or some kind of information here. So let's say I have a pie chart available here. Let's consider I have a pie chart here. The pie chart is of company, let's say XYZ Private Limited, which is altogether 3,600 number of employees available. These employees are divided into few sectors. Sector A, which has 11% of the employee, then sector B has 13%, C has 16%, D has 20%, E has 25%, F has 10% employees, and G has 5% employees. Right? So that's the first information given. Apart from that, the other information given that these employees are either males or else females. And what is the information provided here? Sector A will have males and females in the ratio of 5:6. Sector B, they are in the ratio of 6:7. Sector C, they're in the ratio of 1:1. Sector D, they're in the ratio of 2:3. Sector E, they're in the ratio of 3:2. F, they're in the ratio of 1:4. And G, they're in the ratio of 4:1. Now, with respect to these information, they'll provide you some questions. Let's deal with some basic questions here. The common questions are, first one, find out the difference between the number of males in sector A, C, and E combined to number of females in sector B, D, and F combined. That's the first question. Second question is find out the ratio between the number of males in A, B, C, and D to number of females in B, D, E, and F. That's the second question. Third question is find out the number of males in sector C is how much percentage more or else lesser than number of females in sector E. And the fourth one, let's consider fourth one, is arrange them in ascending order. Males in A and B combined to females in B and C combined. Males in B and C combined to females in C and D combined, then males in C and D combined to females in D and E combined to males in D and E combined to females in E and F combined. So the question is arrange them in ascending order. Ascending order. Right? So suppose these are the questions available there. Now whenever it's a pie chart, as I've told you, whenever it's a pie chart available, pie chart is the only chart where you can be sure that the overall value is something but 100%. So instead of using the actual number, you can always use your own assumed number. In fact, maximum time the actual number will not be required. Now I'll tell you why. Now, instead of this number, 3600, let's not use this number here. Let's assume that there are only 100 people. Now, why I'm assuming 100 people? Because we know that the overall value is always 100%. So I can always take and assume number there. I'm assuming that only 100 people are there. Actual number of people are how much? That's 36, more than 36 times of 100. So I'll be utilizing this later. So assume that only 100 people are there. That represents sector A will have only 11 people. And these 11 people should be divided in the ratio of 5:6. So let's go by the basic ratio here. So if I'm dividing these 11 people in the ratio of 5:6, I can see there are 5 males and 6 females possible here. Right? Just go by the basic analysis. I have only 100 people. Out of these 11 people are there in sector A. So they are in the ratio of 5:6. So I can say only 5 males and 6 females are possible here. Why? Because 5 plus 6 is 11 and my number available there is 11. Same way, if 100 people are there, so sector B should have only 13 people and I have to divide these 13 people in the ratio of 6:7. So 6 plus 7 itself is 13. That means I can definitely say there will be 6 males and 7 females. Remember, these are my assumption. If you want the actual number, I should multiply these numbers with 36. That means if I want how many males are there in sector A, it's something but 5 into 36. Right? So it's how much? 180. Likewise, I can find out all the numbers. But is it necessary to find out all the numbers? No, it's not, because I have limited number of questions available. I want the data for those only. So do not find out each and every value first. It's a normal tendency that we calculate each and everything, then we try to implement that one in the question. Never do those kind of things. Check what are our requirements. Those are the questions. Check what are our requirements. According to that, decide your movement. Right? So first thing is I'll find out how many males and females are there with respect to my own assumption. Now let's talk about sector C. It has to be 16 people there. And sector C, males and females are equally distributed. 1:1 is the ratio available. That means I can say 8 males and 8 females will be there. I can just mark. So I'll just find out all these values and then I'll work on something else. Now next one, let's try to find out. 20 people are there in sector D, which is divided into 2 parts in the ratio of 2:3. So that means it's how much? 2 plus 3 is nothing but 5, but the figure is 20, 4 times. The values will be 8 males and 12 females. Just identify this thing. I'm assuming that D has only 2 males and 3 females. That means 2 plus 3 is 5. If you take this, it should be 5. But what is my number available? My number available is 20. How many times? 4 times. That means each and every value should be multiplied with 4. That's why I have 8 males and 12 females. Right? Go by the basic analysis here. The next one, sector E should have altogether 25 people. And I'm dividing this in 2 parts in the ratio of 3:2. So 3:2, that means 15 males and 10 females. Right? Then F, they're in the ratio of 1:4. If they're in the ratio of 1:4, the number of people are 10. I have to divide this in 2 parts in the ratio of 1:4. That means 2 males, 8 females. And G, only 5 people are there. They are in the ratio of 4:1. That means 4 males and 1 female, right? These are the numbers available. Remember, these are my assumptions. These are not the actual number. To find out the actual number, we'll have to multiply the value with 36. So what I'll do here, I'll see what kind of questions are there. See, maximum time your question is based on ratios. Like question number 2 is based on ratio. Question number 3, percentage. Percentage is what? It's more related to ratios itself. Question number 4, that is also related to ratio. That means I can say the actual number will not be required in these cases. That's the benefit of a pie chart. So whenever pie chart is there, you should always opt for a pie chart, right? So now let's see, how do we solve these kind of questions? Let's take the first question here. Number of males in A, C and E together. Let's take this one. Let's take this one for the time being. So A, C and E together. So A, how many males we have assumed? We have assumed altogether 5 males. C, we have assumed 8 males. I'm representing this one with a circle so that you can identify. Square so that you can identify. And E, 15. So that means how many males are there? In this, I have 5, 8 and 15. That means altogether 28 males are there. That's for my assumption. Then number of females in B, D and F. So let's start to count. B, how many females are there? I have 7 females. I'll just mark this thing. 7 females. D, 12 females. And F, 8 females. Let's add these figures. So if you add these figures, it's nothing but 27. Now identify, according to my assumption, number of males in these sectors combined is 28, females are 27, that means the difference is 1. But difference is 1 which is applicable when I have assumed that the overall number of people are 100. Actual number of people are how much? 36 times of the given number. That means I should multiply each and every value with 36. My difference is 1, so I should multiply 1 with 36. I can say that the difference between the number of males in A, C and E combined to number of females in B, D and F combined will be nothing but 36 itself, right? So here, unless we do not find out how many males are there in A, then C, then E, then females in B, D and F, it will take a lot of time to work on, right? So instead of finding out those numbers, go by your own assumed value first, take the value as 100, check the question's requirement, then decide it. So number of people I have assumed as 100, so that 11 people are in sector A, 30 in sector B, then 16 in sector C, and this process continues here. Then I have further distributed the people. Now if you take the next case, number of males in A, B, C, D. So let's mark A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D number of males are how much? Let's take A, B, C, D. A has 5 males, B has 6 males, C has 8 males, and D again has 8 males. Divide by number of females in B, D, E, and F. So B, it's 7 females, right? D, 12 females, E, 10, and F has 8 females available. So let's add these numbers. Now, actual number will be nothing but into 36 into 36. But just identify, whenever I'm talking about ratios, this multiplication factor will always be cancelled out. That means there is no use of these multiplication factor. So I can always say whenever there is a question related to ratio, this number is never required. This 3600 is never required. This is only required when they are talking about a numerical difference, or else whenever they are talking about a numerical value. Then only this data is required, or else this data will never be required in the case of a pie chart. That's the good part of the pie chart. So let's see what is the ratio between number of males and number of females here. Let's add these figures. 8 plus 8, 16 plus 6, 22 plus 5, 27. This is 27, and here let's take. So it's how much? 12 plus 8 is 20 plus 10, 30 plus 7, 37. So 27 by 37, right? They are not divided by each other. That means the least ratio possible is by 27 by 37 itself, right? So that's why we should always utilize the graph available there, utilize the numbers, utilize your own assumed value, then work on the values. If it's a pie chart, definitely go by your own assumed value. Let's see question number 3. Males in C. So let's see males in C. Males in C is 8 males and females in E are 10 females. Now what is the question? Males in C is how much percent is more or less than females in E. So according to this, males in C are 8 and females in E are 10. My base value is nothing but the number of females because the term they are using is more than or else lesser than here. So my final value is this and initial value is 10. So 8 minus 10 by 10 into 100, which is nothing but minus 2 by 10 into 100. Also we can say 20%. So my answer is males in C is 20% lesser than females in E, right? Let's try the last one. Just tell me what could be the answer possible for the last one. Arrange them in ascending order. Try to arrange them in ascending order. Take 2 minutes, identify the numbers, and let's try to arrange them in ascending order. Prashadi, the question is question number 4. Arrange these in the ascending order. Number of males in A and B combined to number of females in B and C. This is B. Right? Number of males in A and B combined to number of females in B and C combined. This is B. The number of males in B and C combined to number of females in C and D combined. Same number of males in C and D combined, number of females in D and E combined, and number of males in D and E combined, number of females in E and F combined. Arrange them in ascending order. Okay, so let's see. Number of males in A and B combined. A and B combined. So if we'll take the first one, I'll take the first one here. Number of males in A and B combined. A and B combined is how much? 5 plus 6, 11 by number of females in B and C combined. So B and C 7 plus 8, 15. Right? Second number available is number of males in B and C combined. So number of males in B and C combined is 6 plus 8, 14 by number of females in C and D combined. So C and D combined is 8 plus 12, 20. Third one, number of males in C and D combined. So number of males in C and D combined is 8 plus 8, 16 by number of females in D and E combined, 12 plus 10. These two figures, 12 plus 10, 22. And fourth one, number of males in D and E combined. So number of males in D and E combined, 15 plus 2, 17. Divided by number of females in E and F. E and F is 10 plus 8, 18. 18. Right. So arrange them in ascending order. Males in D and E combined. sorry, I think I've written the wrong data, right? Males in D and E combined. So D is these two. 15 plus 7. So 15 plus 8. 23. Not 17. 23 here. And number of females there is 10 plus 8, 18. Correct. Now arrange them in ascending order. You can definitely find out that this one is the largest value available. 23 by 18 is the largest one out of the given. Right? So 23 by 18 is the highest value. Now you have to identify 11 by 15, 16 by 22 and 14 by 20. I have to arrange them in ascending order. So if you take this, it's 8 by 11, it's 7 by 10. Obviously 7 by 10 is lesser than 8 by 11. Right, 7 by 10 is less than 8 by 11 in this case. And what about 11 by 15? Is greater than the other values. So here you can see 7 by 10 is lesser than 8 by 11, which is less than 11 by 15, which is less than 23 by 18. So that will be the arrangement in the ascending order. Right? 7 by 10, 8 by 11, 11 by 15, 23 by 18. So again, the basic thing is do not work on the actual number. If the question is related to ratios, you should not work on the actual number. You should always work on the basic assumed number. Basic assumed number should always be 100 so that it will be easy for you to work out, as overall value will always be 100%. Right? So utilize the term 100% and then work on the values there. Right? So these are the few basic things which you need to keep in mind when you are dealing with the graph.